Hello, hello, friends. Welcome. Today we felt like we need to go live, and we didn't know what to talk about, to be honest. We have always have topics for marriage and connections, and but we felt like there's something else that we need to talk about today. So you see that our title is End Time Community or Communities, and that's something that we've been learning lately about community and how to unite and what are the things that we need to do as the body of believers, God's children, and especially to prepare for what's coming. And this is not you know a scarce mentality. This is actually a preparation for being efficient as children of God and how to bring more souls to Him and bring Him glory through that. So Jesse felt like we need to address the community portion of it.
Yeah, there's something I don't often talk about or share is the prophetic. I do consider myself prophetic in that sense, but I don't open my mouth in that publicly very often. I'm more of I write things down, I ponder and pray on things, and share it with those the Lord tells me to share it. And I remember back when Trump lost the first election, for example, or his re-election, he lost that. And I was just positive he was going to get a second term because that's what the Lord told me. And when I saw other prophetic voices apologizing for getting it wrong, I was like, no, don't apologize. He will get a second term. I'm not sure how it's going to play out, but I know he's going to get a second term. That's what the Lord told me. And I didn't hear it incorrectly. I was just willing to stand on that. And sure enough, he got a second term. And so that's been the pattern of a lot of things where the Lord shows me things, but I don't necessarily share them publicly. And I stand my ground on what I feel he shares with me. And so I've just been sensing some urgency in the times that we're in, not from a fear perspective, but rather how to thrive and prosper in and I'm not talking about prosperity gospel. I don't believe in the prosperity gospel. I just believe in the gospel, and the gospel does happen to include prosperity and abundance. For you to do well, in God's kingdom, on heaven as on earth. Earth is God's template and blueprint for what He wants on earth, ultimately in His perfect will in His heart. We're just in a process of getting there. So yes, it's a journey, and we're not promised freedom from persecution and pain and difficulty and challenges, not at all. So just want to make sure that we're clear that I take a very balanced approach to that.
Yeah.
So moving in, and I've been praying to the Lord, what do we need to do? How do we move forward? And we're renting here in Florida, and the rent isn't really cheap. Houses are even more expensive if you want to buy something. And do we need to move north? Do we need to stay here? I just felt so helpless. What do we do? And I feel like I'm finally getting a glimpse. And it has to do with community. And this is naturally going to sprout up in more and more as things get tighter in the coming months and towards the end of the year. I don't know how much I'm going to share on this publicly. I could share a lot more that I see coming. But the focus I want to keep on is community.
Aligning yourself with
aligning
community.
yourself with community. And I'm not talking in the general sense of the term like you hear, people blabbing about community this, community that. No, I'm talking literally. Who are your friends now that you can go have a conversation with and say, listen, in an SHTF scenario, what can we do to collaborate? What resources can we combine? What is our plan? Where will we go if we need to go? Are we ready? Are the bags packed? And I got a word from the Lord yesterday is to live my life like as if He's coming back today, and also like as if He's not coming back in my lifetime. He says both are wisdom. And it has to do with living life like as if He's coming back today, is living is speaks into each moment being lived with intention and purpose. Like we don't have time to play games and get distracted and derailed and in doing idle stuff that doesn't really matter in eternity.
Yeah.
But yet build like as if you're building for eternity, which we are, by the way. Guess what? Yeshua's kingdom is coming back, and we will be moving on into eternity. So it's that perspective. So what does community look like for you now? Yeah, you might be, involved in church. Most of the church currently is kind of in some sense or shape or form living life as if they're hoping things will calm down again and, life will go on. I'll still have my job and pay off my house. And I'm like, not so fast. That's not the type of community I'm talking about. I'm talking about boots on the ground. Who are your friends now to align with and have conversations with and get ready for what's coming?
Yeah.
I've had dreams, and the Lord has spoken to me of what's coming in the coming months, yeah, it's like it kind of frightens and scares me, but then I got a different perspective. And I'll close with this, and I want to hear from what you have to share. Is that the things that are happening is the Lord forcing the enemy to show his hand and play his hand so that the final confrontation between good and evil can take place. And so everything you see currently happening in the world is the Lord forcing the enemy's hand, forcing him into a corner to where he has to make a move and expose himself for the final battle between good and evil. And so what you're seeing is the coming king, the true king. And the closer that time comes, the more stirred up things are going to get. And to those of us that are deeply connected to the system, the more painful it's going to be. So now is the time, societal system, you could call it the beast system, whatever you want to call it. I call it a system. That when it goes down, to the degree to which we're connected to it is the degree to which it's going to hurt. And that's where community can help us unplug from the system. Yeah. Like growing our own food, combining resources. If you're going, here's a good word for you. If you want to hunker down as a survivalist, then do it with community. Who are your people you can collaborate with? Okay, you got potatoes, I got apples, and I'm just talking a very practical sense in this. Maybe it doesn't sound very spiritual, but it is, because if you put community into it instead of hunkering down in my own home with a bunch of guns, you're probably not going to make it. Right. You're not going to make it. One person doesn't have all the resources needed, but when you share, that's where the multiplication factor comes in. Is where you get into community, you share resources, you collaborate, you put your hearts and minds together in the Lord, of course. That's where multiplication happens. Yeah, and where resources can be shared and multiplied. Yeah. So.
Yeah, and so we also kind of been studying and seeing that you need to know your skill set. What are the things that you can do with your hands? The things that you are being taught as a child, maybe as an adult. What are the things at hand right now? Can you do construction? Can you do cooking? Can you do sewing? Can you do things that are needed? It's not just, like we are coaches and we do that as well. Well, that's great. Yes, we're preparing this generation, the singles, for marriage, because we know that is God's calling for us to be married, and he puts a big focus on marriage. And again, that is a community as well, right? 2 makes a community already. 3 makes a bigger community. So we divide and conquer in which ways? Jesse has skills that I don't have.
And she has skills I don't have.
Yeah, and that helps us to be powerful. Then we surround ourselves with people. We get to know them. What are your skills? What are you good at? Because, for instance, certain things we don't have that you have, and we want to be aligned with you in that area as well. Not just the spiritual, and that is a top one, of course, right? But to be effective in the coming up ages, in the end of times, as we call this video, which we don't know when it's coming. It's usually a lot of things are getting hyped up right around the time of the fall feasts. And
Which,
why? Because that's wherein Yeshua is coming back. We know that it's in those times, in that the the fall feast times,
maybe
right?
explain a little bit about the Jewish calendar and the fall feasts.
Yeah, that's good. So the feasts of trumpets, and we have
What's that feast that
that has multiple
on the Jewish
in them.
calendar is believed to coincide with his return, like as in the spring feasts were of his first coming.
Yes, yeah. So go study those. Those are really good to know. And as believers, we are to follow God's biblical feasts, right?
So is he coming this fall? That's not what we're saying.
No,
We're not saying it. It's just around that season we see a stirring in the spirit realm that follows a theme, and every fall it seems things get tighter.
Yeah,
it's like things get tighter and tighter every fall, and so we're like watching that. Okay, which one is it going to be? Yeah. And it says no man knows the day or the hour, but it does not say that you can't know the month season, or the year or the season. And there's a reason for that, because his second coming is connected to the harvest, and there's a certain harvest that the feast in Israel doesn't start until the barley is of Aviv, they said. I don't understand all of that, but it's like,
well, that's the spring one.
So actually, the day or the hour of that harvest isn't known. It can vary by a little bit, by days and hours. But they can get it down to the week and the month approximately. Yeah. And so, that being said.
Yeah, so, but the message is behind all of this is that surround yourself with people and community that you can, not that you can rely on only, but that you can contribute to as well. Because this life is not, around us in our world. We're not here to be selfish and only have people around us that we benefit from, but we need to give ourselves to it as well. And God tells us that we are not to be selfish. Where two or three gather, I'm there. And so be wise with that. Actually know who you are, your identity, what is your mission, what are your skill set, what are your gifts from God, and look for those people that you align with. And that is something that is beautiful. It's been created like that since the beginning. God created Eve for Adam because he needed that. And there's so much, again, that's a second separate message we can go into. So community, and it's not for scares, but for encouragement and hope in that.
Well, it's like the Bible says, when you see these things coming to pass, look up, because your redemption is drawing closer. And so the ultimate purpose for this message has to do with so that you're doing well enough to be able to fulfill your mission, your unique mission that God has placed in your life in these end times of ultimately bringing more people into his kingdom, right? Yeah. And so if we're struggling and ending up in what the so-called, some people believe the FEMA camps, we're not going to be able to help people, really, right? So is to be wise steward, wise as the serpents, harmless as doves, be wise stewards, and plan like the ants. Live our life like the ants do. Ants are in a colony and a community, and they work hard. Yeah. And those are the people you want to align yourselves with, the people that are watching and waiting, but they're working hard. They're not taking anything for granted. Yeah. They're not living in fear, but they're also not lazy. Those are the people you want to align yourself with, so that you can do well enough to where you can help others when things do go down. And the other thing I would, some practical things I would love to just unleash on some practical things, but the video is getting a little bit long, so we're going to sign off here shortly. But not to put a bunch of fear into y'all, but what I've seen and been shown. but one of the best things you can do financially is to start looking for ways to unplug from the dollar. What that looks like for you, you have to take that up to the Lord yourself. I could tell you on a personal conversation, I'm not going to tell you here, but what I mean by unplugging from the dollar is start reducing your dependency upon the dollar and start looking at hard physical things you can hold in your hands that don't lose their value.
And then material things too. Yeah. We personally have been feeling that the Father's helping us to be detached from physical things, belongings that we have.
And if you can produce something, you'll never lack that thing. If you know how to gather the resources together to make a thing or produce something, you'll never lack that thing. And that's where coming into community, everybody brings that. What can you produce? What are your resources that you can make something even if you don't have it? So I don't like construction. You know, I've been in construction, for example, but if somebody has construction skills, guess what? I mean, if you give them a log or, able to, or a piece of lumber, they can put it together, right?
Yeah.
You give somebody who knows how to sew, give them some cloth and thread and needle, the clothes will be produced. You'll never be
cooking
without, So.
Yeah, and that's, the other, obviously, stay consistent with connecting with God through His Word, prayer. And again, align yourself with people who are doing the same, where you can sit down and talk about those things, where you can go deep dive in verses. Because understanding the Word of God with the knowledge that He's giving you, wisdom He's giving you, and His Holy Spirit, His Ruach, that can lead you in that is important, right? As believers, should be in our DNA. And we all called to do that, to be closer to our Father, to know who we are in His identity and what He's giving us, and then how to connect with others. So how to connect with others knowing how to connect is important as well. And of course, if you are a single person, we will give you a call to action as well to connect. If you want to come to our community, where we create community for singles, where you can learn how to create those connections and go deeper into identity, connection with the Father, and prepare for marriage, great. If you're married and you say, but what about us? Well, we have a community for marrieds too, for families who can plug in there and create that tight community online too. It doesn't have to be just local. Of course, your local people should be the number one people. And then if you have global community around you, that is important too, because what if you need to go further and out of your area? Who do you know that you can go to?
Yeah, so on that note, have enough gas on hand to make it to the next waypoint that you want to make it to. So, not to alarm anyone. I'm just saying,
it's good to be aware,
be a little bit prepared, be aware, and be
Mm-hmm.
connecting. And like Irina said, if you're single, we have a singles community that also is starting to meet organically and in person, and likewise with the marrieds. So if you're in part of an online community, that's a great start. But then you want to take it into in person, and that's our heart. That's our heart, and that's what we do.
Yeah.
What we want to inspire people to do. So.
And of course, loving your people around you, loving your neighbor as yourself, and that's where it will come in. These hard times and challenging times will reveal who we are, and our hearts will be shown. And we really pray and hope that we will continue to be kind and loving people, and be there united with everybody, sharing resources, as Jesse said, with the community. So that's it for now.
Yep.
Okay.
I think we've unloaded on you enough.
Yes. Thank you all for
watching.
here. Yes, we love you. We bless you in Yeshua's name. Bye.